Hi, welcome to Senko Computer Systems screencast on patient management, or as some of you may know it as patient demographics. So let's get started. The first thing that you need to do obviously is go into the Internet Explorer and type in the address as you see it here, or if you're looking at this screencast you probably should already have a link. Once you open up this page, you should be able to just click on the button Run, and the application should start, which it did, and I am going to log in using my login credentials. And also, you've probably also been sent a server that you should be typing in. If not, you can just email me and I can shoot that off to you. Okay, I've logged in, and now it's asking for the company that I want to specify. Typically, the default company that you have should come up. If you have multiple companies, it'll be in this drop down over here, so you can just drop it down and you'll see all the companies. But for now, we'll just go into this test company that we've created. And here we go. At the very top, you'll see a toolbar with all the major modules that we have. So what you want to do is click on the patient management toolbar, and we have it. As soon as you bring up patient management, it places you in search mode, and you can tell by the tab name because it says search patient, so we're in search mode. Again, this is tab based, so you're free to open up multiple patient management screens, and when you do that, you'll see multiple tabs up here. So let's go ahead and let's close all the tabs except for patient management. So we've entered the application, we've logged in, I've shown you how to get into patient management. Now let's start out by searching on a patient. There's multiple ways we can search. If I know the account number, I can just type it in, and it brought up because I typed in the patient number and I just hit enter. Or I can search another way. Now in order to clear the screen, I just need to hit escape and it clears the screen. Or I can search on patient last name. So let's say I know that the last name starts with PAS. I hit enter. Let's say I don't even know what the first name is. I can just hit enter. It'll bring everyone up that starts with PAS. At this stage, I can select whichever one I want. I'm just using the up and down arrow keys on my keyboard, or you can use your mouse by just double clicking on the row that you want. So I'm just going to hit enter, and it brought up the patient. And let's go ahead and let's search this patient another way as well. So I'm going to hit escape to clear the patient. At this stage, I'm going to do an advanced search. There's two ways you can do that. One, you can just click on this button over here. If you click on this button, you'll bring up the search screen, and in there you'll be able to search on the different criteria that we have. So let me do a search by, again, first name. I'm just going to type in STE. I'm going to hit search. It brought it up. I'm going to hit enter. It brought up the patient again. So I'm going to hit escape to clear the screen. And if I don't want to use the mouse for an advanced search to click on this button, all I need to do is hit Control F as in Frank. So Control F as in Frank will bring up the search screen, and I'll be able to search again by whatever criteria that I want to specify. I hit enter. I hit enter to bring up that particular patient. So we've gone over the different ways to search. There are multiple ways. You can just enter in using the three text boxes we see here. So you can do a search on patient number, patient last name, patient first name, or you can do an advanced search by either clicking on Control F as in Frank, or by clicking this search icon at the very top. So let's go over now all the fields. I'm going to bring up this patient again, 1001. I'm going to hit enter. And notice that I have some different colors. You can see green, and basically the green tells you the field that your cursor currently has focus on. So notice as I'm hitting tab, or enter actually I should say, it goes to the different fields, maneuvers to the different fields, and each of them, whichever field has focus, it turns green. Then you also see the blue colors, and the blue colors represent fields that are required. So I cannot save a patient unless I have the patient last name populated, patient first name populated, the patient location populated, and the patient rendering provider populated. So if I were to, let's say, delete the first name and attempted to save this screen, I should get a pop-up error message saying that these fields need to be corrected, and basically that patient first name is required. So that shows you, the blue shows you the fields that are required, and this applies to all our modules, and the green shows you the focus of your cursor, the field that has focus. So notice that, as soon as I click on each of these fields, it turns green because that's the field that has focus. Okay, so let's start it all over again. I'm going to hit escape to clear out the screen. I'm going to do a search again, and basically that's all I need to do to start editing. I can now edit these fields, so let's change this to 0101 1990, and I can change this to 100 Main Street. I can change this to 90210, and again, the city and state are not enterable fields. It's based on zip code, so as soon as you type in the zip code, it looks it up and it populates the city and state. I hit enter. Again, all I'm doing is hitting enter, so I'm not doing anything. I'm not using the mouse or anything like that. I can change this to 4444, enter. I'm going to leave all that the same, enter, 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 and I am done. What I can do right now is click on Alt. If I click on the keyboard Alt button, notice that there are certain fields that are underlined. That represents the letter that you can press to execute this button without clicking the mouse. So by clicking Alt S, I can execute a save patient. So Alt S, and it saved the patient, and it obviously cleared the screen. So again, in order to search 1001, I hit enter, and then I just use the keyboard enter button to maneuver through all the fields, change whatever I want to change. After I'm done, I click on, actually I use the keyboard to hit Alt S, and it actually saves the patient and it clears the form. So let's now talk about the payer screens at the very bottom, the payer module at the very bottom. So a patient can obviously have multiple payers, and the way to do that is, right now the primary payer for this patient is Medicare. I have the ability to add another payer, and secondary, and I'll call this, let's say this happens to be a Medi patient. I believe the Medi-Cal is MD1. And notice that I have a termination date as well. So I have the ability to keep a patient history on their insurance. So for example, let's say that they no longer have Medicare. What I can do is I can terminate this payer, and let's say they terminated on July 1st, 2005, and then I would have to change this to primary, and I fill in all this information, although it's required, but it's not required to save a patient. I can click Save Patient or hit Alt S, and it saved it. So if I go back into this patient, notice that there's two primaries, but one of them got terminated on July 1st, and actually the other one is effective on June 1st, which is inherently incorrect. So let's go ahead and let's edit this, and let's say that he actually became a Medi-Cal patient on July 2nd. So I'm going to save it by hitting Alt S, Alt S. I save the patient, again execute the patient, and as you can see, the primary payer is Medicare, the primary payer is Medi-Cal, and the an old primary is Medicare. So we also have the option of creating what we call a case list, and this would be used for workers' comp claims. So for example, you can have two cases on a patient with two primaries, and I'll show you basically what I'm referring to. So let's open up another case, and so I clicked on this tab at the very top, and this is a default case, which is primary case. I'm going to add another case, and I'm going to call it workers comp. Okay, if I click on the general tab again, notice that now I have another tab over here. I can click, oops, I accidentally hit save. I have another tab over here. If I click on this tab, now I have the ability to add in a primary for this case. So let's say the primary for this case is, let's call it like work. Let me see if there's let's see, W, anything that starts with W. This sounds good. West Covina Medical Clinic. Okay, so now if you can see, I have two primaries, but one primary is on the workers' comp case, and the other primary is on the primary case. So when I enter in a charge, which we'll go over in another screencast, you'll be able to see that I can assign a charge to either Medicare or to the case that we just to the pair that we just created on this case. So let's go ahead and let's hit escape. Do you want to save the changes? No. And let's now go over adding a patient. So again, notice that this A is underlined. That signifies that you can hit Alt A to execute that button without using your mouse. So let's do that. So I'm going to hit Alt A, and it is now in add mode, and you can tell because it says new patient here. And I'm going to enter in Doe John. I'm going to hit enter through all the screens. I'm not using the mouse. I'm not using the mouse. So 100 Civic Street 90210. Phone number, no, 11111. mail, default location, default provider. I'm just hitting enter, enter, employer, enter. Do you want to add a new payer? Yes, I'm going to hit enter. I happen to be a Medicare patient. Effective date, insure ID. I hit enter, 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 enter. Do you want to add a new payer? If I had another insurance plan, I'd enter it now. Otherwise, I select no by using the arrow key next, or the arrow key to the right to move between yes and no. No, or I can hit Alt N for no. I hit enter. Do you want to save the patient? I can just hit yes, and it'll save the patient. And notice that our patient number is 1035. So I'm going to hit enter. It says it saved it, and our patient number is 1035. I hit OK. 1035. So now let's go into our original patient 1001, and then I can hit escape to clear it, and then go into our new patient 1035, hit enter, and this is a patient that we just created. So we went over how to search a patient, how to add a patient. We briefly went over entering multiple insurance plans for a patient. We went over cases, and let's go over all the different tabs in patient management. Obviously, we have the case list, and this is where you can add new cases. For example, if you need to have a payer that's specifically for workers' comp, or if you have a drug therapy, experimental drug therapy plan that the payer is the drug manufacturer, you can specify that in here. We can look at the appointments, and if you're using the appointment scheduler, then all the appointments that this patient had or is going to have would be in this list on the bottom of the screen, which there's no appointments currently. If we go over the next tab, and again I can either use a mouse to click on it or just hit Alt 6 to get to memos. This is the place where you can enter in memos, and I'll go over that in a separate screencast. Then we have also authorizations, and this is the place where you would enter in the authorizations for the patient, and that one as well I'll go over in a separate screencast. And then we have a miscellaneous tab, which you can enter in some other information like email or the patient's the date of death, and this actually will show the patient balances as well. Okay, a couple other things I wanted to go over, and that's the delete patient and making a patient inactive. The delete patient feature should only be used if you accidentally created a patient in error. So for example, let's say I just created this patient and it was a mistake, and we don't want this patient. It was basically a data entry error. I can use the delete patient over here. So if I click on this button, it'll say, are you sure you want to delete this record? If I click yes, the patient will be gone. If I click no, obviously the patient will still be there. The other option, and the option that we recommend, assuming that it's not a data entry error, is to inactivate the patient. So I can inactivate the patient by clicking the inactive checkbox at the very top. If I click on save patient, it made that patient inactive. Now if I do an advanced search and I list all the patients, notice that our inactive patient is in a different color, and it specifies that this patient is inactive because it's checked. So that is the recommended way of making a patient inactive. Again, you can always delete it, but the delete functionality should only be used if the patient was entered in error. Otherwise, if the patient is no longer active, or the patient moved, or the patient expired, what you would want to do is make that patient inactive. That pretty much concludes our screencast for patient management or patient demographics. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to you guys being there for the next screencast, which would be for the different modules that we have. Again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye.